Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having me, and apologies about my Spanish. Each day, 1 in 9 people go to bed hungry. Despite this fact, I believe a hunger-free world is possible, where everyone has enough food today and for tomorrow. In order to do this, NGOs need to shift the way that they market and engage people around hunger. As a kid from Australia, I grew up in a range of different countries. I spent my early years in Bangladesh and India, and then in Malawi. And I was surrounded by hunger that most people don't experience. It wasn't the kind of hunger that my kids often complain to me about when I won't stop at the drive-through in between lunch and dinner. It was the kind of hunger that can consume everything you think about and you do in your day. Malnutrition, starvation where your body starts to shut down because you don't have enough food, and it starts to consume your muscles and your organs. This is not what a normal Aussie kid experiences. Yet this is the gift that my parents gave me as I grew up and started to think about some of the challenges that our world faces. For the past 15 years, I've worked in a range of places and roles for an organisation that works for providing for children. And we work on issues like hunger. When I joined them, I was young, fairly naive. I dreamt big things, but to be completely honest, ending hunger was possible. But since then, I've worked at a range of different levels. I've met with people, I've met with communities, I've met with scientists, I've met with farmers, I've met with marketers, I've met with app designers, all kinds of people. I've had some failures, some successes, but all these people were doing something to create a hunger-free world. And I now do believe that we can end hunger. There's some serious complex hurdles that we will have to overcome in order to do this. And one of these hurdles is that we need to change the way that we engage people so that we can allow people to join us. Let me share 3 facts that give me hope. The first is that the number of hungry people is actually dropping. Since 1990, in the last 26 years, the age most of you maybe are, there's 200 million people less that go to bed hungry every day. Since over that time, we also now have enough food to feed everyone. We actually produce enough food to feed 10 billion people, which is almost 1.5 times the population of the Earth. This is mainly because agriculture has got smarter and it's got better. There's been advanced seeds, fertilizers, crops that are growing more. But despite this fact, there's still 795 million people that go to bed hungry every day. 795 million. It's a pretty big number. It's the equivalent of 16.6 times the population of Colombia, the total population of Colombia. So despite the fact that the number of people that are hungry is dropping, that we also now have enough food for everyone and also another half planet, we also know now how to grow more food, and that's getting better every day. The food's not getting to the people that need it. Distribution and access are really critical issues for creating a hunger-free world. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today, because I'm not an expert in that space. What I do know is that we need more people. If we can get more people around the world actively engaging on the problem, around the problem, thinking about the problem, I believe we can be part of the solution. So I think what we need is we need to create a way for more people to join. We can't just have the same people fighting this issue if we want to end hunger. We actually need to enable more people to join us, to raise their voices, and we need the people that are already involved to do more day to day. In order to do this, I believe that NGOs and those that are talking about and showing this work need to change the way that they communicate and market, because at the moment the way they do it, I don't think brings in enough people. The number one way that people in NGOs respond and ask people to engage is to give money. I'm sure many of you have been asked to give money. And giving money is important. It actually helps to fill a need. But I don't believe for 1 minute that giving money is the answer. It's part of a solution, but we need more than just giving money. We need people that can bring actions in their everyday. I believe that we absolutely have to change our approach so that we can get the public involved. We need people from all different sectors, not just bringing money, to help us come up with solutions. Some of these images I'm not going to show you for very long because they're pretty graphic, but this is what often has happened when NGOs try and get you to give. They use tactics to make you shocked, to guilt you, and you respond. But what I would wonder is actually, do you engage? You might react with a fleeting reaction and $1 or a donation, but do you actually sink in? Do you take on the issue? So I believe that in order for us to actually change the conversation, there's some shifts we have to do. And I want to tell you about 3 shifts that I personally have chosen in the work that I do. The first shift is I've moved from using the motivator that we motivate people around from guilt to joy. I don't believe guilt is a good motivator. Guilt is a negative emotion. It has a place. We all need a reminder sometimes about something. It has a place. But guilt is often used to motivate you to do something, to feel a negative thing. And you react and you do something, but it doesn't sink in my view. It doesn't transform your thinking. You kind of try and, I'll put something there and then I can get back to the things that I enjoy. And so what we've done is really tried to think about this and say, how can we make this shift? Let's talk about Syria, for example. This image of a boy came across probably most of your social media feeds about a year ago. It was a year and a couple of weeks. And it hit newspapers all over the world. People reacted. They looked at it and they said, that's horrible. How can we live in a world like that? And then what happened? There was a spike. I can tell you, our organisation got some donations. Some governments made some changes. And a year on, the war's still happening and another image will come on and raise this awareness. And so, to me, it's not enough just to get a reaction. We actually need to get people's minds involved in engaging. This is why we chose joy, because joy is associated with a positive space. Often when we sit and eat food, we all love it. You sit around with friends, you might go out after this and have food. You sit around with your family and you enjoy food, and it brings sense of contentment and joy. And so we felt that this was a better place to start motivating people from, to join and say everyone should have this opportunity. The next shift that we made was, instead of starting with the problem of hunger, we decided to look at the solution of a hunger-free world. Often you start with the problem. But what we did, and now the approach that our team took, was to say, how can we create a vision of the world that we want to see and how we want to engage people, that then people could join together around and rally behind. We believe that through creating a vision, it enables people to come together. It stops you competing and you can start collaborating. Because under a vision, you know where you want to be. And so with this vision of a solution that you want to go to, then you can work together with other people. You don't have to feel like you're in competition. Often in NGO space, charities compete with each other for donors, for people's attention, for people's voices. They're looking to get you, but at the exclusion of someone else. And that doesn't actually help the issue. So what I believe is that when you focus on the solution, you can actually do that. An example that really jumped out to me was in South Sudan, in a project that I went to visit. It's a project that we ran with the World Food Programme in partnership. And in this community, there was a number of internally displaced people that had fled violence, and so they were living in a community where they didn't really have enough food to keep themselves alive. In this community, we started to focus on the solution. And we said, yes, the problem is they're hungry, but the solution is not just giving them food. The solution is finding a way for them to be able to create their own food, to be empowered. And so we worked with the community, and I want to talk particularly about the young lady there with the orange t-shirt, and it's not because of my orange pants. But she had 3 kids that weren't in school. Each day she would go house to house trying to offer to do jobs, to collect a few dollars to get something for her kids. She came into this program and she worked with 11 people. The World Food Programme actually provided cash, a small cash payment. And this cash payment was part of a program called Cash for Assets. And why they gave cash was that the cash could then be used to buy food locally. Instead of bringing in food, they could stimulate the local market and help the local food producers to actually get an income, whilst also helping her. And in exchange, she had to give a couple of days' work to get involved. And so she would give us some time and get involved. And she would work on, in this chance, on an asset, which was a fish pond. And this fish pond, she would then grow fish, and then from that fish, be able to actually feed her family. So 18 months after she started, she had her kids back in school, she had an income from the fish pond, and she was also had purchased that bicycle. To me, that was amazing to see how a problem had been moved into a solution. The third area that I want to talk to you about is we shifted from reaction to engagement. So seeking a fleeting reaction, so getting people to react and give us something, to becoming more engaged. So this engagement to me is when people are released. They're given the freedom to engage around an issue, to be able to take that issue and get involved, and bring whatever skill they bring and do something about it. Dennis de Prescott is a food photographer. He's one of the most influential people in Canada in the area of food and photography. He was a friend of mine, and his whole organisation and business was built around the love of good food. He cooks food, photographs it, and then shares it. And I work in the area of hunger, and so when we came together, it was kind of hard to work out how we could work together. But when we shifted from reaction to engagement, we were able to find a way to work together. Instead of making people feel guilty, we were able to work together to engage people around food. And Dennis has since joining in that. He's been able to post food photos online, reach out to influencers, and really open up a whole food space of food photographers to the cause of HungerFree. Another activity that we did was the double up dinners. And this was a way of taking the idea of celebrating food, of joy, of engagement. And we invited people simply to sit around and have a dinner with friends. It's not hard. Everyone does it. So we said, go out for dinner, celebrate, have your favourite food with your favourite people. And then at the end of the meal, consider how you could donate the cost to help others have that same meal, whether that's locally or globally. Through these 3 shifts, we've seen that it is possible to engage people, to get them involved in a bigger vision. And this has been absolutely critical. As we've done that, we've seen so many more people doing cool things. I'll tell you about just a few of them. There was a restaurant in India that I saw recently. The owner put a refrigerator out front, and the refrigerator, she put meals in each day, and she also invited the patrons to put meals in. And so this was a way that patrons could participate. Lauren Bush, saw the issue of school feeding, and she wanted to get a tangible way to actually engage people. So she created feed bags. Thank You Group, they wanted to provide cereal bars, and since have fed over 100,000 people. Wairira is a friend of ours who we just signed a partnership with, and she studied nutrition, and when she went back, she decided that she was going to do something about that, and she was going to help feed kids. And so she opened a restaurant that was a for-profit that generated an income that could then be given to, the profit could be used to feed kids. And she's currently feeding 300 kids a day. So I want to just finish off by just telling you that the frameworks that you use, sometimes you need to examine them. Plan A might not work. You may need to go to plan B. And this doesn't have to just be around the issue of hunger. It can be on any issue. But what you can do is take what you know, what you're passionate about, the place you're in and your experience, and shift. And you can make a shift, and that may be the difference in the issue that you're wanting to change. So I want to tell you, don't be afraid to shift that thinking so that a lasting good change can occur. In shifting your thinking and approach, you'll enable more people to become a part of the solution. Thank you.